But I am worried sometimes that we are not giving the best argument for the other side, or that we simply don't understand what the other side is saying. So, in the interest of actually hearing out the other side, I'm very pleased to bring on David Pakman, who is the host of The David Pakman Show. It's a nationally syndicated progressive TV show and radio show. I'm always really grateful to progressives who come on this show. We invite lots of them on. Very often they say no. Sometimes they come on. So just to make sure we're not straw manning anything, let's bring on David. David, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's a unique pleasure to be here, Michael. Thank you.
So, David, you saw the clip. You've been watching the Ketanji Jackson hearings. Am I crazy, or should a twice Harvard-educated nominee, federal judge, nominee for the Supreme Court, who is a woman, be able to define what a woman is?
Isn't it amazing we've reached this point in our supposedly advanced civilization, and this, it's like everything is going so well. We've been making so much technological progress, improving standards of living for centuries, over the centuries, over the decades now. And it's like we have no other problems left to solve, so we have to create problems for ourselves. Or somebody, or certain groups of people, create them for the rest of society who thought, all of us who thought we understood the basic ground rules of our civilization, somebody's got to say, no, we got to change those rules. We got new definitions. So yeah, you'll remember this Supreme Court justice hearing for Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was asked to define what a woman is, and she refused, said it's, she's not a biologist. Anyway, we have David Pakman, notorious progressive, appearing on with Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. Let's get into it.
I can't say if you're crazy. That would be for a mental health professional.
For my doctor.
You're either dishonest or ignorant, and we can maybe figure out which. So here's the deal. I mean, I'm kind of, we're just meeting each other. I'm sort of kidding around, but here's the deal. There are no instances where when issues come before the Supreme Court, it comes down to the dictionary definition of a word. When it comes to who counts as a woman, or what is discrimination, or what is negligence, it's always in very narrow circumstances where dictionary definitions do almost nothing for you. So she was very smart not to play into these kind of rhetorical black holes, because whatever definition she gives, Michael, she then is going to be pushed into some corner with some case or article or book she hasn't read, by the way, and there's no upside to it. So if we're just having a good faith conversation about strategy, she did the right thing. Almost 60% of Americans believe she's qualified, and she is. And that's really all there is to it. It's kind of boring.
Well, I agree with her. I don't agree with you that it's boring. I think it's one of the most interesting questions in the country, that we're now at a point where we can no longer even define man or woman. But I do agree with you on strategy. She's in a very tough spot because her side of the aisle, and she's relatively leftist, even by the standards of the Democratic Party. So on her side of the aisle, there is a new definition of woman. Well, they haven't given the definition of woman, but it's not the old definition of woman, which is a person who's not a man. That is out because of the transgender movement. And so she knows that if she gives this new definition, which is a woman is, I don't know, a woman is someone who says that he or she is a woman, that's going to alienate, I think, the vast majority of Americans. If she gives the old definition that a woman is a female human being, and a female is of or denoting the sex that can bear children and reproduce, and produce eggs, for instance, she knows that that will alienate her base, and she knows that that now is apparently controversial in the law after the Bostock decision, after other transgender decisions. So I understand the strategy, but what about the law? What about the definition? You say she shouldn't be quoting the dictionary. Well, fine. Shouldn't she at least be able to give the legal definition of a woman? Shouldn't she, a woman, have some sense of what that is? I'm not a meteorologist. I can tell you if it's raining.
Yeah, there is no legal definition of a woman, and that's exactly the point. The point here is when it comes to the court is in a position, or will be in a position, or might be in a position to decide for the purposes of a particular set of facts, based on a claim brought by someone who appeals a case about these issues. And so it's literally irrelevant to her job as a Supreme Court justice.
Now that's interesting. There's no legal definition of a woman. Excuse me. But what about all these laws which specifically give women certain rights or certain protections? There's plenty of those in America, types of affirmative action type laws. If you're going to give a certain class, in this case women, certain protections or certain rights or certain privileges, then you must be able to define what a woman is. Of course, we never had to do that before because everybody knew. But under this new regime of just redefining words which have been commonly understood since the dawn of human time, it actually becomes necessary to define what a woman is legally, despite what David Pakman says.
And so, again, we can have a cultural discussion outside of the context of the Supreme Court. In the Senate's job in evaluating, is she qualified? It's an irrelevant question, and by her qualifications, she's more qualified than any of the 9 justices currently on the court. There's no way to deny that.
I think you can, because I think all of the 9 justices on the court can tell you what a woman is. And so I know we're getting back.
Because they've never been asked to do that. No, nobody's ever been asked to define words in this way during hearings. So you could speculate that, but they've never been asked. So
they've never been asked.
Impossible.
I agree, but I've never, but I, as a gambling man, I would bet the farm that a Justice Alito could tell you what a woman is. But you're right, they've never been asked because it's never been controversial before. But I want to get to a point you just made. You said there's no legal definition of a woman, but there must be, because there are legal protections specifically for women. So if we don't know what a woman is, then
Title III thing.
And Title IX. And Title IX is quite controversial.
Have a good faith conversation, or one that's in some way productive, you know?
You're saying you and I, or you're saying Ketanji Jackson?
You and I, yeah. I don't know if, I mean, listen, the Republican senators obviously didn't want to have a good faith conversation. I was talking about you and I, Michael.
Yes, well, I do want to, I mean, this is why I'm granting you you're making the point on political strategy. I totally grant you that. That was the right move for her to make if she wants to avoid it. But then bring up Title IX. I mean, there are legal protections for women. This is coming before the court. It's come before the court in the last term. There are going to be a lot more cases coming before the court coming up. It seems extraordinarily relevant that we know what this woman thinks of these issues and of a basic question of biology and human nature. What is a woman? I mean, I don't think that's a bad faith question for the senators or for me to ask.
No, it's not necessarily bad faith, but we have to be able to, what I hope are reasonable people, Michael, understand that in the context of her role as a Supreme Court justice, it doesn't come down to a biological opinion. Like, can you at least grant that piece? Well, it's true that for what the Supreme Court decides, these are narrow issues where, when it comes to Obamacare's constitutionality, which Amy Coney Barrett never, refused to weigh in on, with all of these things, these are really narrow legal decisions, and there is no way in which a dictionary definition of terms does anything for us.
Well, it might do something, but I grant your point a little bit, except that Marcia Blackburn didn't ask for the biological definition or the dictionary definition. That's what Ketanji Jackson added. She said, I'm not a biologist. But all Marcia Blackburn asked was, just tell me what a woman is, from a legal perspective, a constitutional perspective, a philosophical, I mean, whatever.
That's literally not what Marcia Blackburn said. I would encourage you to pull the clip and identify the time at which she said that.
She said she didn't mention biology, and she didn't mention the dictionary. She said, what's the difference?
But you just asserted that she said she wanted the legal and philosophical. She never said that.
No, I didn't say that. I said I just said Marcia Blackburn asked for the definition, any sort of definition that Ketanji Jackson could give of woman. She didn't specify biology.
Now you're backtracking.
I'm not backtracking at all.
That's dishonest now.
I'm not back. How am I backtracking?
No. Hold on a second. Let's be clear. 30 seconds ago, you said Marcia Blackburn didn't ask for the biological. She asked for the legal.
No, I didn't.
Let me finish the sentence.
Okay, but you're misrepresenting what I said.
No, I'm not. I would encourage the audience to rewind.
I would encourage that. I would encourage that as well.
But can I even get it out?
Sure.
I mean, it's okay. The problem with what you just did, Michael, is you just said Blackburn asked for the legal definition, and I said, no, she didn't. And you said, no, that's true. She actually just asked for the definition.
I'm sorry. Well, then if either you misheard or it seemed that I misspoke, I'll be very clear. Marcia Blackburn just said, what's the definition of a woman? She didn't specify anything else. Now, you then said that biology has no place here, or that the dictionary definition has no place. But that's not what Marcia Blackburn asked for. She just asked a simple question.
Understand that in these Supreme Court hearings, the senators can ask the questions however they want, and the nominees can answer them however they want.
Or not answer them.
My opinion is, this is my opinion, and you can have a different one, and that's the great thing about America, Michael. My opinion is that if you're interviewing for the job of Supreme Court Justice, it's reasonable to assume the questions have a legal bearing as to your role on the court. Given that, Judge Jackson was right to understand the point of the question is to back her into a rhetorical corner about legal definitions. And she was right to say, it's not something I can answer. These are narrow issues when they come before the court, and there's no reason that she would ask such a question. Do you know this guy, Jesse Lee Peterson? Have you heard of him?
I know Jesse Lee Peterson,
When I was on with Jesse, he said to me, David, define what love is and what a man is. And it's a really common rhetorical technique for the bad faith right to start with just pick a word and define it and use it to back someone into a rhetorical corner. It's a waste of time, Michael.
It's a bad faith. It's a rhetorical device used by the bad faith right, so-called, to want to define words. That sounds like a very bad faith argument in itself. You can't have any kind of debate unless you define the terms that you're talking about. If you're talking about gender or men and women or something like that, then yes, you need to define the terms man and woman. If you're talking about, if anything, you can't have a debate without defining terms. I don't know what he's on about.
Well, let's talk about real issues, please.
Okay. Well, I think that as a philosophical issue, but certainly as a legal issue too, the definition of a woman does matter, has mattered recently, and will matter soon. But I at least agree with you on the strategy. You have not convinced me of Judge Jackson's good faith confirmation hearing, but you have convinced me that she is a wise politician and that she's playing her hand the best that she can. Before I let you go, David, I know we're like way over. I am really not playing the game of giving you some impossible thing to define. But since the question of woman is up in the air, everyone's arguing over what it means these days, do you have, either you yourself or you speaking for the progressives, do you have a working definition that you would use?
No, I don't do, like I told Jesse Lee Peterson, and there's so many, this interview is feeling a lot like that one, interestingly enough. I don't do dictionary, I do politics. And so, no, I don't spend time defining words. And here's in all seriousness, Michael.
Yeah.
Let's now talk philosophically. Really, we're talking, man to man now. Dictionaries are...
Did he just say man to man? Well, what is a man? What is a man, David Pakman? You don't do definitions. How can you even talk man to man if you don't know what a man is? You don't do definitions. How can you talk philosophically if you don't do definitions? How can you talk about politics if you don't do definitions?
Are descriptive, not proscriptive. So
well, they're prescriptive sometimes too. But they can be descriptive. They are descriptive and prescriptive as well, right? The word means this.
By definition, humans decide what to put in the dictionary, right? So they're just these are descriptive.
But they put it there because the words mean something.
At the time, believe.
Yeah, I mean, we could go down a tangent on prescriptivism versus descriptivism, and that might be good for a future appearance.
I don't know if it's a tangent.
It would be a very good discussion, and I think it would be great to have you back. I truly appreciate your coming on and giving the progressive perspective on this, and I hope to have you back on the show. Where can people find you in the meantime?
DavidPakman.com, and it's been my unbridled pleasure to provide you these insights.
Thank you, David, very much. I appreciate it.
So that was interesting. I think Pakman was just squirming around, being very weaselly. I think I already said my piece. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think this whole thing is just ridiculous. It points to a deep, deep sickness in Western society. So anyway, I hope you like that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps me grow the channel and continue making videos like this for you.